Start to see 800,000 children go missing. Mm-hmm. Where are they going?
They're usually going into or human trafficking for
that's
job
what it
trafficking.
is. Little kids, defenseless little kids. What kind of a scumbag piece of could do that?
Unfortunately, the number one predator for sexual abuse is
What would these old guys do with you?
A lot of it was, and I'm just going to be blunt, like flat out honest, a lot of it was them.
So you got issues everywhere with this, with this system. How do you fix it?
And this is going to be my conspiracy theory moment. People are going to go, wow.
What it is, Brad Lee back again with another episode of Dropping Bombs. Today, folks, in the studio, I've got a real treat for you. She's lived the battlefield, abused, homeless, and a foster youth who became legal guardian to her siblings at only 24. Dyslexia, 33 relocations before age 24, living in cars, didn't break her. They actually built her. She turned trauma into triumph and found a mission, smashed the system that failed her. Now she's obviously out kicking butt, frontlining reform in higher education, giving foster youth the tools, resources, and grit to go from surviving to soaring, research-backed, trauma-informed, and unapologetically authentic. She's already reshaped community college support programs and launched a featured doc, 33 Roofs, chronicling the real fight against homelessness and broken pipelines. No filter, no fluff, just real talk, real science, and a revolution born from lived experience. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Danisha Keating.
Hey, thanks for having me.
How do you like being called doctor?
Still feels weird, but it's cool.
So let's talk about some of that.
Yeah.
Now, foster home. How old were you?
I was 16. It was actually 2 days before my 16th birthday that we were picked up and put into foster care. I was a sophomore in high school, and it was a Saturday night after color guard. Came back from the trip, and CPS was there waiting for me. And
Why?
said, because my parents were neglectful and abusive. And so they just said, enough is enough. We'd been probably dealing with them for probably about 10 years, but solidly for a full year before they said, like, okay, these kids are running the streets at night. They're ages from 15 years old all the way down to 4. And they're just, no one's watching them and nobody's there to be that parent. So CPS finally came in and said enough was enough and put us into 3 different homes.
Where were you?
Like location wise in California, Southern California. So I was physically jumping from friend's house to friend's house at that point, because I was basically told, like, by my mom, like, I'm not going to take you to school, not going to worry about you. You're not my problem. And so I would walk to and from school. But it was probably, I think it took like an hour and a half to get there every day. Where
did that all start? How old were you when the shit started?
CPS says 2. I remember probably as early as 4. Remember hiding when people would come knock on the door. We'd hide behind our couches so people didn't know we were home.
Why though?
They had told us not to open the door. And so we were homeschooled.
You were home alone?
We were mostly home alone. If my mom was there, she was sleeping. And so it was that, like, she didn't want people to know that there was kids home because they were technically homeschooling, but our homeschool was TV. It wasn't real homeschool.
Yeah.
So we were just told, don't make noise. Don't let people know you're here, because my mom already knew what the CPS system was like. She was a former foster youth. So she was just like, we can't let them know that you guys are here unattended without an adult.
Where was Dad?
Usually it was at work. But when he was home, it was just not a good situation.
What do you mean?
Well, he was physically and sexually abusive. So it was one of those things that when he was home, it was like, you got a good dad on a Saturday. But when he came out, it was a different person than who he portrayed out into the world. So everybody loved him. Everyone was just like, he's a great guy. He's so involved in the community. He was involved in an organization that actually put sexual abusers like him away. But he was the sexual abuser at home. And then he was physically and verbally manipulative to people, but people just adored him.
How many siblings?
I'm one of 11 kids.
Damn.
So a big family. And when this all ran down, I think my oldest sister was 18 or 19 years old. And then the youngest was 2 or 3 at that point when we first started. Oh, so many. I have like 7 brothers and 3 sisters. So mostly boys. So
at 2 years old, Was he physically abusive to babies?
I don't remember them ever going at babies, but the neglect was there. And I actually recently got our file from the county, and a lot of it's blacked out, so they don't let you see everything. But there were notes in there saying like, okay, the kids have rashes. The kids have this as young as the 2-3-year-old. We noticed especially them grabbing at their body parts because there's rashes there. And that was kind of eye-opening to me because I blocked a lot of that out. I was just like, it wasn't that bad. And then seeing that, I was like, oh, that's bad. Like the things that they said, like it was rice, I always say rice, mice, roaches, and lice infested homes and bug infested homes. And it smelled and had a stench. The police officer told me, he's like, I was in the military. I would use this as a place that we would bomb as practice. Like your house is not livable. There's wires exposed. There's walls missing from your home. The air conditioning and heater don't work. So when you see this from all ages, of a 4 or 5-year-old, it's like my daughter's almost 3. And I'm like, oh, that's the age that I was when my parents just stopped being parents. And I look at her and I'm like, I don't understand how you justify that and just let your kids not have food and water and electricity.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's what most people think, most normal people. So I'm sitting here thinking that. So why did they? I mean, other than, were they druggies?
No, they were actually not. My mom was addicted to soda, like specifically Dr. Pepper. And people laugh at that. They'll be like, that's not an addiction. I'm like, no, like this woman would go to the AM/PM or a grocery store and get like 64-ounce glasses of soda 4 or 5 times a day. If you did not let her have one and she had to withdraw, it was just as bad. Like I've watched people
my sister did that.
It's horrible. You watch them withdraw and you're like, dude, you're crazy. Like I got beat up for not having the money given to her to get a soda. We would be walking down and getting milk and she's like, get the soda, get the soda, get the soda. And you're like, dude, like get over this soda. And she just couldn't live without it. And I think she's like 50, 60 now. But she still says like, oh yeah, I'm really proud. I went down to like 3 64 ounces a day instead of the 5 that I'm at. And I'm like, that's still so much soda. That's all she would drink. But there was mental health issues for her there. I do think a lot of what she did was learned behavior because her mom had schizophrenia. And my mom was in the foster care system, I think at the age of 8 and went out, aged out at 18. So I think a lot of her behavior was learned and she just didn't know how to cope and then had 11 kids on top of that. Like there's a lot of hormones there changing. And she was 18 years old when she started having kids. And I think she stopped at like 33, 34. So she just back to back had kids. My dad, I still can't figure him out. Because it's just one of those things that even like I talk to his siblings and they're just like, he was what? But they're like, okay, but we see that how he could be weird on this and this and that. But like he went to what extreme? And I'm like, I don't know where he learned this, but he was just one of those guys. I think he hated who he really was. He worked in warehouses my whole life. And like eventually got to a management position, but then he would like portray to be somebody else. Like he's like, oh, I'm a private investigator. I'm this, I'm that. And I'm like, no, you're not. You're not any of these things. But he always would lie about his accomplishments, be like, to everybody. Like he told people he was in med school at one point, and his brother's like, you went to a Christian school and tried to get your bachelor's in Christian studies. You were not in med school. And he would tell people that. He said that he met the president of the United States at one point and all of these other things. And I'm like, a guy from LA? Doubt it. Like it was just who he pretended to be was so different than who he actually was. And everyone who knew him were, they would just be like, he's such a great guy. But then afterwards, they're like, all of these lies that he told, were any of these true? And I'm like, no, none of it was. And I didn't realize the extent of the lies until people started asking me, like, did he do this? Did he do that? I'm like, that's not who he was. He worked at a warehouse. He didn't do any of those things, but I don't know. I think maybe he was just that miserable.
But there was no drugs?
No, that's what's wild. But when it comes to foster care, 64 to 65% of foster care youth are taken away because of neglect. And a very small percentage, I believe it's about 13 to 15%, is for drug use. But most of it's mental health or just learned behavior. It's not actually because of drug use. Has
your mom ever been diagnosed?
I think she was. And I know she was on medication for a while, but I don't think she ever like fully understood what she went through. Her story is heartbreaking. I mean, she was holding onto her little sister's hand when she got hit. Her little sister got hit by a truck, and she carried that her whole life, and then all the abuse she went through. So I think there's this moment where in psychology, you learn that people, when trauma happens, it impacts the brain so much that the brain stops growing emotionally. So if you don't heal from that, if you don't deal with that trauma, you push it away, you put it in this little compartment, and it just stays there, but you still act in trauma or triggers that happen in life. You still act the same way as that trauma kid did. So her being 8 years old in any conflict as a 30-year-old, 40-year-old, 50-year-old woman, she's still going to act like she's 8 years old. And people have seen that when they've seen her. They're just like, she acts like a child. She acts like this little kid. Well, and I'm like, yeah, it's because the trauma that she's experienced.
Well, I wonder what trauma I've experienced that I buried then. Because I still act like a kid.
We all have, like, people get tired of it in the counseling realm, but people are like, that inner child. And I'm like, sometimes I'm like, ugh, don't talk to me about that inner kid. But then I'm like, oh, okay, I understand that when conflict happens, we see people do this in businesses a lot too, where if they're an entrepreneur, they start to act like a child when they start to get stressed out. And you're just like, why are you acting like a 15-year-old just swiping your card, pretending like it doesn't matter? Let's make a wise decision. And they're like, I don't know why I did that. I really don't know why I did that. And it's sometimes it's trauma related, and sometimes it's just an emotional immaturity that the person has.
Yeah. Well, I self-diagnose with emotional immaturity because I
think we all can be.
I really think like and act like a kid. Now, not a kid, but like, you know,
a teenager. Most of us are
not even
teenagers.
a teenager. I'd say more a young adult. And now I'm starting, like the other day I just said, I feel finally like I'm mature. So it's like, maybe there's such a thing as a late bloomer, but like, I feel mentally like I did when I was 25. And I think the same way. But recently in the last couple of years, I'm starting to actually mature. Like I stopped drinking. Why? I got tired of it.
Yeah.
You know, I stopped smoking weed.
Yeah.
I used to smoke weed all the time. Like, and
and
by the way,
behind weed of what it does to your brain too.
Well, when people say you can't succeed and smoke weed, yeah, you can. Because dude, I built all this totally a dipshit, like, you know, immature, you know, but again, I think I was what's called a functional, whatever I am.
Yeah.
But I think maybe there was some trauma. Who knows? Because at 2 years old, my parents got divorced and we got sent to a foster home. But my grandmother forced my dad to come get us.
Yeah.
So we were only there for like, I was 2, so I don't remember, but we were only there for like a couple of weeks, but we were about to get shipped out to different homes.
Yeah.
And my grandmother told my dad, you better go get your damn kids. So my dad came and he got us. And then we grew up at my dad's house with my stepmom, who was a good lady. Yeah. And my real mom, you know, she was not as bad as yours, it sounds, but she was like,
there's something.
They said she was manic.
Yeah. Manic depressive is a hard one because they can't really see it and get out of it. But the trauma of being taken away from your family, doesn't matter if it's put with foster care or with a grandparent, being taken away and separated from your parents, they have actually found that in the brain, it registers it worse than abuse. And that was wild to me because I'm like, how is my being taken and put in a foster home more traumatic than the abuse I went through? Is because we normalize what we're going through. It's normal to us. We wake up, we're like, that's just mom, that's just dad. They're just having a bad day. But when we're separated, we don't understand the why behind it until years later when we're like, oh, that's bad. And that I think is where there's that trauma of we can allow it. We can still be successful with trauma or not having any trauma. Like, honestly, I know so many people who are successful and they're like, man, I went through a lot to get here, including childhood trauma. But it's not good to let that be the thing that we're just like, it is what it is. I'm not going to work on it. I'm not going to deal with it, because we could be so much better mentally and emotionally and make better decisions that are long-term for us than just sitting back and being like, it is what it is. And that's where a lot of people get to is, it is what it is. It happened to me. Poor me. I'm going to stay here. I'm going to stick here. I'm just not going to grow in life. And that's a detriment to only you at that point. After a teacher once told me, After 18, it's you're in the driver's seat. Doesn't matter what happened to you. You're in control of what you do going forward. You couldn't control it before, but now you can. So what are you going to do with it? And I was like, dang, like, okay, I gotta, grow up and figure this out for myself.
Well, at least you did.
I did. And I made a lot of dumb choices along the way, but I do feel like I've made a lot of great choices as well to get to where I'm at. But there's so much more that I'm still like, dang, I still got to learn that. I still got to do this. I'm a business owner. I've made so many choices where I'm like, that was really stupid, but it was out of panic that I made it. So now, like, I told my husband, I was like, I need to make sure I have accountability. I don't want to make dumb choices financially anymore as a business. Let's sit back and I'm going to ask you and tell you, like, here's what I'm thinking. You need to tell me no if it's really bad. And then if it's okay, let's talk through it, give it time and sit on it. Versus just spending the money and hoping that I'll get it back in 6 months from now. And that has been, I think, a game changer for me emotionally and mentally to know that I have a partner in that I'm not sitting back just making choices to make choices.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm almost like, I want to almost ask you questions just to figure out me.
Yeah, I cannot. I'm going to preface this now. I'm going to say this up front. I can't psychoanalyze you. I am not a clinical psychologist or a psychiatrist. I am a research psychologist. So if you want facts, I can share facts with you, but I will not diagnose you.
Is there, well, I mean, everything turned out fine for me. And when I look back, I don't think I was abused. But kids have a way of blocking that shit out.
Neglect is just as bad though, because when there is neglect, typically what happens is the parent is not emotionally available for their kid.
Well, that was a fact.
So that's the hard part, is that we are human beings that are built off of emotion and built off of connection. So you start at 2-3 years old and your parents not showing you affection. I did a lot of study in child adolescent psychology. And one of the things that was eye-opening to me is like hugging your kid, kissing your kid, holding your child and just like cuddling up with them, watching a movie with them, asking questions that builds them developmentally to be attached to you. But that's where the security comes in, is knowing my parent has my back. The child who is absent without a parent, they're actually emotionally detached. And so there are studies that have showed it is not good to just sit and let your kid cry it out. It's actually not a benefit for them because it's showing them that nobody is going to come to their rescue. So there's
that might be a good lesson to teach them, no?
So, but there's a difference when it's like, okay, you're 6 months old, letting your kid cry it out versus like, okay, you're 3 and 4 having a tantrum. Those are two separate situations. But a lot of parents are just like, oh, I'll let them cry it out for hours. And at some point you want to meet them and just be like, hey, what's going on? Let's talk through this at the age appropriate position that you can sit with them. But it is not actually a benefit for your kid to sit there and just be like, you're 6 months old, cry it out for 4 hours.
Well, for 4 hours, that's where the abuse comes in.
Yeah.
Like, dude, come on. Like,
20 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 minutes. Okay, cool. But I mean,
at 6 months old, my thought would be you pick them up.
You pick them up, see what's wrong. And that's a good thing to pick them up. But if it's like, oh, I need to go to the bathroom, that's why they're crying, that makes sense. But there are so many young adults that I've talked to who were like, my mom never showed me affection when I was little. I would try to hug them. Grown men would be like, I tried hugging my mom or my dad and nothing, never, not once. And they're emotionally disconnected from other people. I hated being touched for the longest time because of the abuse that I went through.
So how do they fix that?
You have to go through counseling.
What about if the kid doesn't like it?
Being touched, to respect it. It's not a bad thing that a kid doesn't want to be touched.
Because one of my little girls, I have 7 kids. 3 of them are young.
Yeah.
And the middle one, she's 10. She is loving and huggy and, cuddles. But the 12-year-old, she does not like to be hugged by anybody.
That's okay.
Well, I'm just like,
that's
what?
Preference.
I mean, if I didn't raise her, I'd be like, did something happen? Was she getting touched by Uncle Chuck or something?
Yeah.
Because that's not normal if you would think about it.
Well, there's
but I was that way.
Extroverts, though. Yeah.
I know, but I was that way. I didn't really like hugs either. When people came to hug me, I'd be like, ugh. And like my dad wasn't a real loving, hugging, emotionally available guy, but I knew he loved me. I mean, he was kind of forced to take us, but once he did, he was good. So again, I don't think in my head, I was abused.
No, yeah. But
neglect again depends on the definition. We were left home alone many times, but my brothers were older. My sister was older. So like they babysat me, which was the youngest. But dude, I remember plenty of times where I'm like 4 or 5 years old and parents are out drinking. They wouldn't get home till 2, 3 in the morning. And, we were home alone. But again, I had older brothers and sisters, not that much older, but, so is that neglect?
It is neglect because the parent should have been at the house. And there's
but
this
back in those days, that wasn't normal.
A lot of people and I think that's why so many people are still facing neglect is because it wasn't in 60s, 70s, 80s. People are like, I was early 80s or late 80s, baby, early 90s, 2-year-old. But a lot of people that I grew up with, it was just like, oh, mom and dad would leave. Kids would be at home. Older kids step in.
Normal.
That's babysitting is different where you're just like, hey, your older kid, watch your kid. But when they're gone 3-4 days
in a row,
nobody's there. That's abandonment at that point.
Yeah. Well, that didn't happen to me.
That's not good. And I know for my situation, the other hard part was both of my parents, they called it, I hate the term because it just sounds weird, is parentification, where it's the parent is now saying you're a parent in this situation. Now you're parenting me and your siblings. So there were situations that my dad would put me in. And I remember one of them, I was 11 and he came to me and said, I needed at 11 to make the decision to put my mom in a mental institution or be the person to raise my siblings and to take care of her emotionally, mentally. And
why was it or? Why wouldn't it be both?
Because it was my responsibility. I had to choose to put her in the mental institution at 11
or take
responsibility for her and the kids.
What and your dad?
He said, this is your choice. And he walked away and I looked at him and I was like, I'm 11 and I'm not making this decision for you. And I walked away, but I felt that it was my responsibility to parent my parents and my siblings. So me going in at 24, taking them in, it was like, oh, it's my time. Like I've been waiting for them to call me since I was 18 to say, come get your siblings. But that is where there's this danger of not being allowed to be a kid because now you're raising your siblings and your parents. And that's
where are your parents now?
My dad's in jail. And my mom somewhere in Bakersfield.
How long has he been in jail?
Since 2015.
Yeah. And so how long is he supposed to be in jail?
2035.
Good.
Something like that. But
one thing when it comes to like abusing children, like I think there should be a wood chipper for those people. Period. Like, dude, I have no empathy for abusive, especially like little kids, defenseless little kids. What kind of a scumbag piece of shit could do that? Now, neglect because I'm on drugs, not realizing that she needs attention and food. I'm on drugs. I get that. That's not the same, even though it's still abusive.
Yeah.
But intentionally abusing a kid.
Yeah. You shouldn't be able to have kids in your vicinity at all.
Period. And you should be in a wood chipper. Yeah. If you're a pedophile like, and you're sexually abusing innocent children, you should die. Is that harsh?
No, I agree because the hard part with my particular story is when I came out in 2005, I was like 14, 15, maybe like 13, 14. And I had said like, hey, this is what's going on. CPS put him in counseling and put down the reason. It was like, oh, you're going to go to therapy for sexual addiction with your daughter and not get him away from me, not like save me and help me. It was, you have to still have visitations with him. They're going to be monitored.
Is that the way it is today?
Sometimes it still is.
See, again, like what's wrong with society?
People think that sexual predators are just broken emotionally. They treat it as depression. My mom's mental health was seen more as an issue, like her not taking her medication to CPS. They said like, you have to do this for the detriment of your children. But his sexual abuse, they like threw it away, even though he admitted it. They did not investigate him in 2005. And then it just got worse from there. So people just backwards. Tied them. It is completely backwards.
Yeah, like your mom, I'd feel sorry for, and I'd try to find her help. Your dad, I'd throw in a wood chipper.
I know. And it's still happening where kids are being put into foster homes where they're not checking and they're finding out there was a sexual predator in the house. They see this happening across the country and people are just like, well, it's broken. I'm like, we cannot keep just saying that because we are the system. A friend of mine, her name's Angela Tucker, and she's like, she was in a call and someone's like, oh, it's broken. It's broken. She goes, y'all, we are the system. Like we are the people here running it. You need to change it. And I sat back and I'm like, why do we pretend that the system is some monster computer when it literally is human beings? And not everyone in the CPS system is bad, but there are so many people who just don't care.
Do you think there's some being paid?
Oh yeah, it's happened. It's coming out all the time.
Yeah. Cause you start to see 800,000 children go missing. Mm-hmm. Where are they going? Why is that not alarming? What happened to the faces on the milk cartons?
I know.
Like they just now.
You still see them in Walmart and in stores. They still have them on the wall. Just stare at the wall and you see all the missing children.
Really? I've never seen that.
Go into a Walmart and on the wall, they have missing kids posters.
See again, but where are they going? Like
they're usually going into sex or human trafficking for job trafficking.
And no one cares.
No, because it's out of sight, out of mind. Why would they?
Well, because they're children.
I know.
Defenseless, mind you. Again, when someone tells me 16 years old, in my mind, that's not a kid, even though technically that's a kid. That's not a kid. I don't feel as sorry for 16-year-olds because at 16, you had the wherewithal to say, screw this.
Sometimes.
But she doesn't.
No, right. But as 16, you can get groomed into believing that is what you are supposed to do by another man. When the father is absent from the house or abusive, girls will run toward other men who are abusive. They actually say that if you've been abused, you have more of a target on your back to get re-abused. Not to be an abuser, but to get re-abused.
To tolerate it.
And it's because that's all you know. When I was 15, I started dating guys who were 30 years old, 21 years old, 25 years old, because they were these men that I was like, okay, you're not going to be the boy. You're going to be a man. But then looking back, I'm like, why was a 25-year-old, 30-year-old talking to a 17, 16-year-old girl?
Do you ever think about like turning them in?
I did call on them after I had like really realized what was going on. And one of them ended up being like he got arrested for it because he was still doing that. But at 17, I didn't know. I was like, oh, there's this guy who's going to come in and love me and he's being sweet to me. But then the abuse starts happening after they get you in. And then when I think I was like 22, I was like, something just doesn't sit right with this. And I was looking him up and I found out that he had just gotten arrested and somebody was like, oh, he was targeting 17-year-old girls. And I was like, nah, I'm good. And I sat down with the police. I said, hey, this is how I can give you a track record for this person. Here's this, and this. And they were like, thank you. No one else is coming forward. And I was like, well, we need you.
Why do you think people don't come forward?
They don't see that it's wrong.
Well, and it was, 20 years ago or whatever.
And I think that that could be it. They think that a big thing I hear from especially women is I was just really mature for my age. I'm like, again, but why is a 25-year-old man talking to a 17-year-old girl, 16-year-old girl?
Well, again, I mean,
there's only one reason. It's easy to talk to girls to get them to do what you want when you are older. It is so easy to walk into a room full of girls and just be like, I'm a guy, here's money, here's this, here's affection, here's that. And if they don't have support at home, you're just like, this is what I've been longing for, is to be loved gently. But there should never be a man that is coming into that room with girls.
What about if they're 17 and the guy's 23?
I tell the 23-year-old, there's no reason you should be dating a 17-year-old. First off, they can't even drink with you. It is just awkward. 17 and 23 are different. If it was 17 and 20, you were probably like sophomore, senior in high school. That situation, you knew who that was. 23 and 17, no.
Well, I mean, legally, no. But technically,
they're so different at 17 and 23. When I was 23 and my brother was 17, there was different concerns that he was focusing on. At 23, you should be getting done with school or having a career, not sitting around with someone who's in high school.
Yeah.
They're not seniors at that point. Most of them are sophomores or juniors.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of gets me is like, why are you hanging out? Like, what are you going to do? You're going to go to Sonic and drive home? Like you can't have real conversations.
Yeah. Well, again, I mean,
there's a lot of difference between those ages.
Well, I know. Again, and again, if I were single, I wouldn't be trying to date a 16, 17-year-old. But at the end of the day, 16, 17, 18, to me, they're kind of adults.
Yeah.
Now they're still kids, but they're kind of adults.
And they're just getting started in life.
I know, but if you're a immature dude that happens to be,
doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter based on the law also, but, and I'm not justifying it.
No,
All I'm saying is I can understand a 23-year-old immature dude that's attracted to a 17-year-old high school girl. Hey, if it's against the law, it's against the law, like whatever the law says. But I can understand because especially some of these 17-year-olds, they look freaking 20 something.
They do. But the maturity, if you're 23, you really should be focusing on your career. You should be starting.
Well, sure.
You should be able to get up and move where you got to go for a new job. If you want to start a business, you go and do that. But at 23, if you're still sitting around with high schoolers, you're gonna be a deadbeat person by the age of 28.
More than likely.
You really don't have anything going for you if you're 23 walking around a high school.
Well, when I was like 17, 18, there was always 22, 23-year-old dudes coming to the parties we were throwing.
Yeah,
now again, we were unsupervised kids too.
Yeah.
So, I knew plenty of dudes that were 22, 23 banging a 17-year-old.
Yeah.
And it wasn't weird. It was like, we're roughly the same age. In our minds, that's what it was. So maybe that's why it's like, it's not the same thing to me. What's you get an adult messing around with a child, like, dude, those are the ones that get the wood chippers. If someone, is 23 and fell in love with a 17, 18-year-old, well, I mean, you're just stupid because the law says you can't. And I wouldn't do it just for that purpose. But at the end of the day, they're close. But kids, like when I say kids, I'm not talking about a 17-year-old, even though technically that's a kid. I'm talking about, 14 and down. Like, dude, those are not even mentally developed yet.
Right.
And you're abusing children. So I want to get to, eventually, because you were 16 running around in this abuse. You weren't a doctor. You weren't doing the right shit. You were dating older men. You were probably, being a little promiscuous.
No, not at that point, actually.
Oh, good.
I actually did not start the sleeping around until I was 19 because I didn't
So
want to.
what would these old guys do with you?
A lot of it was, and I'm just going to be blunt, like flat out honest, a lot of it was them trying to get me into bed.
Well, of course.
And a lot of sexting started because we, just had flip phones at that point. Every one that text you sent out had to be charged for it. It wasn't unlimited like it is now. But a lot of it was, they would try to get me to go to a party with them or hang out with them. And they'd be like, come on. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. And that was when a lot of the abuse I was going through was still very fresh. So for me, that was when I started to do that when I was 19, it was more of a take control back. And that was based off of what a friend told me. She was the one who was like, how I found my sexual power was by taking that back of my yes, so I could go sleep around. And I tried it and I hated it. But
hold on, say that one more time.
I tried it out and I hated it.
Tried what?
Having sex. I hated going out and just being like, let me find someone to sleep with. That's
your friend told you that's how you get your powers.
That's how you get your power
whoever
back.
You want.
Yep. It was the stupidest advice that I followed.
Yeah, that doesn't even make sense.
It doesn't.
You get your power back by saying no.
Right. But that was not what another woman was telling me. Another woman was like, this is how I got my power back of being sexually abused, was to go out and just say yes to who I wanted to say yes to. And at first you're kind of like, 19-year-old, you're like, yeah, that kind of makes sense, but not really. And then you try it and you're like, now I just feel more like crap. Oh, that guy that I thought wanted to date me. Oh, no, now he's ghosting me. He's completely turned away and been like, I don't even want to be with you. I just wanted to sleep with you. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I was right. I was right that this was wrong. I shouldn't have done that.
Because I always say, if the dude's the right dude, he'll wait.
Right.
And that's what all young women should understand.
And even if you've done that before, like me and my husband, we waited before we got married to have sex. And that was one of the biggest conversations, was like, look, I did not do this right in any of my dating life after 21. Yeah,
but until after you were married?
We had the first time we had sex was our wedding night.
What if it would have been terrible?
We practice. that you don't have to have sex and try it out. That's the whole thing. Like, go have sex, try it out, make sure it's a good fit. That's not the point. The sex life can be improved. And if it sucks, whatever, you're going to be able to improve that.
That's
but what
true.
doesn't get better is the emotional connection. If you don't have an emotional connection with someone, if you don't know how to talk and communicate, that is actually the number one killer of marriages is communication issues.
Yeah,
Nothing
I'd
else,
agree.
not financial, nothing. Not knowing how to talk to your partner is where you're going to have an issue.
Yeah.
And so many people are like, no, it's the sex life. It's like, okay, no, people ask people who have a good sex life. They're like, yeah, it's great. Love it. Ask them, are they still happy? They're well, no, not really. Why? Because I'm not connecting. Women need to emotionally connect with men. Men need to be respected. That is like fact across the board for the last, I don't know, 45 decades that I know of. Every person I've ever talked to has been like, this is how you have a good marriage, is learn how to communicate, learn their love language and talk to each other. Most marriages that I see fail, it's not off the sex life. It is based off of the lack of communication. And they say, well, it's financial. He's lazy. She's lazy. She doesn't understand me. You start to get at the nitty gritty of it. It's like, well, the man was not respected and the woman was not loved.
And they didn't communicate to figure out how to do both those things. Yeah. So at 16, you get thrown in a foster home.
Yeah.
Was that abusive?
It wasn't physically abusive, but it was definitely like I was there maybe 5 minutes before they started going into rules. I had not had food, and the foster mom that was there, she's just like, so you missed dinner. And I'm like, yeah, sorry. I was, being picked up by CPS, but they just said, breakfast will be at, 7:30, 8 o'clock. So-and-so is going to walk you around and share the rules with you.
Yeah, but see, like that, to me, that's another issue.
Yeah.
Like you shouldn't be qualified to be a foster parent if you're not a kind, caring individual. And I don't know how to test them, but if I walked in and they said, sorry, you missed dinner.
Yeah.
I'd be like, get me a different one.
I know. Well, and this is what it pisses me off looking back at it, because I didn't know I could speak up. But so many times that I shared my story of that part, people are like, where was your CPS worker? I was like, oh, he was standing right next to me. And other foster parents are like, as soon as I have that kid, like I know that kid's coming to the house. I see what's their meal. What do they like to eat? CPS will drive them through a drive-through. Like there are a lot of good people out there being like, hey, this kid probably hasn't eaten, not just today, but maybe a few days.
Well, how do you become a foster family?
So you have to, it depends on the state. Every state is so different. But typically you go in, you do a ton of training, you get licensed through the county, they check out your home, and then you're licensed. The follow-up should happen.
Do you get paid?
Yes. They get paid per foster youth. And you can go all the way up to most states is 7.
What do they pay you?
It depends on the state. I know from my state in California, it's anywhere between $1,500 a month to $5,000.
$5,000
per kid. And it depends on
give me 10 of them.
Disabilities, special needs. If they have a lot of children who are special needs are harder to get placed because of that. There's a lot more medical intervention that needs to happen, a lot more visits and things like that, doctor's appointments. So it makes sense because it's like, hey, you're not going to be able to work while you have this child in your home. But there are homes that are temporary placements. So this is the place that's the in-between before you get either put back with your family or you get put into a permanent foster home. Mine was a temporary. So these people just get calls, maybe 48-hour placements, 2-3 week placements, and then the child is sent somewhere else.
So did you stay at one until you were 18?
So I stayed in one for about a month before I was moved to my sister's house. And then I still was bouncing around until I turned 18. CPS came back on my 18th birthday and said, you're done, get out. You cannot share the same room with your little sister who's under the age of 18, and you are not allowed to stay here. That conversation, though, was never brought to my older sister. She thought I just up and left.
See, but that's another issue. So you got issues everywhere with this, with this system. How do you fix it?
You need to weed out the horrible caseworkers. We have to have complete honesty of what's going on. We have to stop relying on red tape and laws to fix it and actually just start gutting out people who suck. And then you start going in and actually holding people accountable. There is no accountability. My CPS worker, he worked somewhere as a ticket booth person at this point. I looked him up, I found out where he worked, and I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. But there is no accountability. In my state, I took my file to an attorney and he said, there is nothing you can do to sue this person, the county, because all they had to prove was that they followed up on the call and that they investigated to the best of their ability. And if they can say those two things, they're good to go to walk away. So he's like, you have no case. And I was like, cool. So all of the crap I went through, him bullying me for 2 years, I got no case. And the hardest part is that he said, she said situation. He told me, you're white. No one's going to believe you. And no one's going to believe you because you're a girl. Who are they going to look at? And he was, I don't know what his race and ethnicity was, but he was not white. He's like, who do you think they're going to believe, me or you? I have the power here. And he would walk away. And I just looked at it and I was like, dude, I'm screwed. And it didn't matter if I spoke up at that point or not. I wasn't being listened to with what I did say.
Why didn't you just run away?
Because my siblings were involved.
See, because when I got kicked out of my house at 16, I just left. My dad didn't call anyone, do anything, but there was no truancy people. No one cared that I quit school.
Yeah.
Like there was really no issue. I just started living on my own.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to deal with any of that shit.
I know. And that's what a lot of people have said. They're like, you should have just gotten an apartment. I didn't qualify. I didn't have credit.
Or just hang out with friends. I
did
couch
hang
surfed.
out with a lot of friends.
Is that part of the 33 moves?
Yeah. That was partial. At 18, I had I didn't count all the ones in high school, but probably every 3 days I was with a different friend, and their parents had no idea because I never said anything.
And then dyslexia. So you read backwards or something?
I mix up a lot of words because words like I do it all the time. I'll say one word and my husband's like, that's not what that means. So I was like, are you sure? And he's like, yeah. But with math, numbers actually go backwards. I've never once been able to do well in a math class. I can get a C, but that's about it. Because things will start to flip in my head. With writing words, I am at least consistent most of the time. So things like participant and participate, I will misspell those a lot. If it was not for spell check and grammar, I would be screwed.
You're still that way?
Oh yeah. It gets very frustrating though too. And that's what's hard for me is like people don't understand when I'm tired or stressed out, it will start to act up more. And I will actually like verbally beat myself up and be like, dude, this is so stupid. Like why I'm 35. Why is this still a problem for me? And it's a reality.
Well, homelessness, literally like
homeless.
Sleeping under a bridge.
So I slept in my car for a full year.
But you had a car.
Yeah. But I then didn't have a car. And so I would either sleep outside of my friends' houses or I would couch surf with strangers. So I never was on the street, but I was bouncing around. And then I had 33 places that I lived from 18 to 24. Yeah. So, and that was during like the recession.
And I'm not trying to like soften it.
No, it's not as bad as being on the street.
Yeah. To me, homelessness means, cause again, I was homeless legit for a couple of weeks on a beach, but it was a beach. So when people said, dude, how was that? It was like, I'm like, no, it wasn't that bad. So I'm thinking like, again, maybe the way I perceive things was optimistic. And that's why I succeeded anyway. And I see the
difference too, because I'm like, look, at least I wasn't on the street physically, but I was sleeping outside of Starbucks and Stater Brothers and having people break into my car while I'm asleep, which is terrifying. As a female, that's terrifying. I didn't qualify for
As a female, anything. It would be real terrifying.
So I'm lucky that I had my car, but then I didn't have my car. And then I just kept bouncing from persons to friend's house to friend's house, stranger's house. I'd meet someone and be like, hey, we're in class together. Let's study. And then I'm like, oh, I'm tired. Can I crash on your couch? And it's like, I woke up to some very, very scary situations of people standing over me. And it was not good. I could have been brutally attacked and no one would have known. And I would have gone missing. So it's like one of those, I'm like, it could have been worse, but I survived it.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Yeah. You seem to be fine now. See, so that's always the optimism in me.
Yeah.
Like, cause people always, when they hear my story, they're like, oh, it's like, dude, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
It really wasn't. I wasn't abused, even though caseworkers might say, yes, you were. Right. But see, that's the whole thing. Like, that's why I'm torn. I think some kids, they're too coddled.
Yeah.
Like they don't get abused enough.
They don't get disciplined.
Yeah,
enough,
whatever.
Not abused.
It's the same. I mean, again, what's abuse? That's my point.
Abuse is over the top. So
I used to get beat with a belt. Is that abuse?
They would consider it excessive and not great.
Yeah, but see, again, I mean, in some cases, like I've never spanked my kids.
Yeah.
Why? Because I've never had to.
Yeah.
But I've raised my voice. I've, you know, I don't even know if I've ever actually physically smacked them or anything, but like, in other words, like I've never had to, but if they kept going, I get my ass beat. And guess what? If you spanked her because she was throwing a little tantrum, I wouldn't think, oh my God, that's abuse. No, but some people will.
But just to give an example is like, okay, if she was doing something, and there's been a few times where it's just like, okay, hey, stop, knock it off on her butt. But my parents would get a belt or a sandal. My mom would
mine too.
Buy like my mom went, it was bad. She went to Home Depot and got like the thick rulers that they have there, and she'd just go to town, and she would be like, you moved. And like, I remember having like up my back, and I was just like, my butt is not up there. Like, come on, dude. And I moved, and I was like, stop. And she's like, I'm starting over. And I think I remember at one point I think I lost count at like 20. And I had bruises everywhere. And I had for a really long time, they looked like stretch marks, but they weren't, they were scars. But that is over the top. Like, you don't need to grab something else to physically hit your kid, a small spank on the bottom. But like, is that 2 years old? Is that 10 years old? Like, why are we still spanking at 10, 15 years old? It makes no sense.
Well, you just got to spank harder.
No, you got to do something different. Oh. It's kind of like the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again, thinking it's going to give you a different result, and you don't. So it's like, when you get older, at 15, you shouldn't be spanking your kid. Like at 15, it's like, okay, you get your car taken away, or if phone taken away, video games taken away, grounded. Like, why? Because you're teaching them how to be an adult at that point. You're not going to treat them like a child and think like that's okay.
I don't remember when I stopped getting spankings, but it was probably in that range. But dude, I mean, when I was little, I didn't get spankings either. I'd get the swat with a hand.
Yeah.
But when I was, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, I would get a leather belt.
Yeah.
He'd take his belt off and smack me, not 20 times, but it'd probably be a good five smacks. And it worked.
Yeah.
Because dude, I stopped doing the shit. They would get me a spanking.
We would, well, that was the crazy part. It was things like we made chocolate milk wrong, and we would get like a full beating.
Yeah,
I'm not even kidding.
Yeah, but that's the mental part.
And it was like, it was kind of funny because me and my siblings have been like, we have butts of steel because we would break every sandal and thing in the world, like as my mom would hit us, and we'd be like, man, we have Superman butts because it would snap her shoe or snap the ruler, and we just walk around, we got Superman butts, because she would go to town and it would eventually snap off.
Do you think that there was any benefit at all?
No.
To that?
No. You don't, making chocolate milk wrong and getting beat up.
That's the reason she did it. My question for people listening is it okay to spank your kids?
I think 1 or 2 when they're like, if they're like 2 years old and they're not paying attention and it's a small smack, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
I'm talking about belt on the butt.
It doesn't work. I've
it
never
worked for me.
But I think it depends, because it's like, are you trying to get the fear of like, hey, what you're doing is wrong? And if that's what worked for you, that worked for you. But for most kids, it's like what they're lacking is actual attention from their parent. Because right now, parenting is very different today than it was 20, 30 years ago. 30 years ago, it was like, yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Yes, I'll go do that. But now.
Or you get your ass beat.
Or you get your butt beat.
That's why it worked.
But now it's like, you see these videos going around where it's like, this girl's in a store throwing products from the store, and the parents are like, don't touch her, don't do. It's like, maybe that kid needs to be picked up, taken outside into the car, and stop being spoiled. That I don't care if there is a mental disability, emotional thing. There has to be a point where this kid can learn. You don't go into someone else's property and destroy it.
So there has to be consequence.
There has to be consequences. So we don't see that today.
Yeah.
Like most of the time in most parenting, I don't see that in the public.
Well, I would agree. So I think a consequence is really what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There needs to be consequences to misbehavior.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be physically painful.
Right.
Although physical pain did work for me.
Yeah. And it will work for others though.
I'd do shit, get a spanking, and then I wouldn't do that shit.
Yeah.
Or at least I would hope I didn't get caught doing it again. But spankings worked for me.
Yeah.
My dad signed something at school that the teacher could paddle us
Yeah. Yeah. Those were the times.
But kids didn't act like they do sometimes today.
No.
Now it's like you can't touch your kid and they know it.
Yeah.
So they will tell you, screw you. Yeah. I'm not listening to you. You can't make me. But and if you even try, I'm calling CPS.
But there is also a lot of parents who are not involved with their kids. Like if you go to any school and just kind of sit and watch how many parents come in, you'll see half the class not have parents show up to student or like parent teacher meetings and stuff like that. It's hard for teachers to even get a hold of parents at this point. And that's shocking to me. I used to, up until recently, I taught at a university for 4 years as a professor. And I saw grown people being upset when I asked them to redo their assignment. How dare you? Why aren't you just giving me the A? I have great work. I'm like, you missed the mark.
Isn't that entitlement?
Oh, yeah. I deserved the A because I thought I got the A. I'm telling you, you didn't. So I'm going to be fair and actually go above and beyond as a professor, which no professor does. I'm going to give you another opportunity so you can learn. And then they still got upset about it. I would get cussed out. It's really, I was like, this is ridiculous. Like I'm giving you a second opportunity, which is not something that happens.
Yeah. But you see, you're almost proof that all these people that make all these claims aren't correct because by statistics, you should be messed up.
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
Well, then how come it didn't mess you up?
It did. It did mess me up, but I think because I was so focused on my siblings and knowing that I needed to get ready. Like I remember at like 15, that was why I pushed so hard at school. I just kept saying like, I need to finish high school. I need to go to college. I need to get ready to take my siblings whenever that day comes. And I think that drove me enough. Like, I mean, if you look,
that was the purpose.
It was the whole purpose. If you look at my high school transcripts, you're like, why did you go to college, girl? Like 2.5 GPA leaving high school and then failing certain classes before leaving, getting into college, flunking out my first semester, having a 1.8 GPA. Why did I keep going? Then going into psychology where I never got more than a C in the class and being like, this is so amazing information. I love this. I want to learn more because I understand myself now, and jumping into that field and not doing well. I think I ended my bachelor's with like a 2.8 GPA, had to petition to get into my master's, but every single time it was like, I need to do this for my siblings. So I need to get more money. I need to be able to do more so that I can make sure I take them. But that I think drove me. But then it was kind of this weird shift in my 30s where I think it was like 2 years ago, I sat down with my husband and I was like, look, I'm emotionally done. Like I'm in my bones, I'm exhausted and I can't process and I'm not responding the way I want to. I need to go to heavy therapy. And he's like, I that's great. Go do it.
Did you?
I did. And I spent 16 months in there, and I had to find a good therapist though. I had to find someone who would actually walk me through it and not just let me sit in therapy every week. Cause there's some weird therapists out there where it's like,
that's the part that sucks. There's, everywhere you turn, there's scumbags.
Yeah. And but that's your due diligence. You're going to run into that everywhere. So what are you going to do to make sure you find someone who's good? And based off that, you have to talk to some people and say, hey, like I want to go into therapy. Have you tried? Who do you recommend? And so I asked a friend and he's like, hey, I think you should go to this person. And I ended up going to her, and like we just every week. And there were many, many months where I was like, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore.
I was reading about a therapist that specialized in sexual abuse. Mm-hmm. And he was sexually abusing the people that he was supposed to be helping.
Yeah.
Because guess what? They're sexually abused, and 9 times out of 10, they're just vulnerable.
Yeah.
So you're supposed to be helping them and you're abusing them.
That was the thing that pissed me off with psychology, is that the founding people of psychology, so Freud, there's like 6 others, they were also doing the same thing, that they started to see female clients who were sexually abused and said, oh, the way to get through your sexual abuse is for me to do this to you so you can get out of this. So this is where it's like, no, like your therapist should not keep you in therapy long-term. That is not your job to pay their bills. But at the same time, like you need to be very mindful of who you are seeing. Because if they're going to abuse you, doctors do it, lawyers do it, everybody does it. You have to find people who are going to help you get better, not keep you where you're at.
What are the steps in doing that? How do you know?
You have to test them out. You have to ask other people who have used them. You have to ask for client referrals. It is hard. It takes time. You really do get this gut feeling when you're sitting with someone, if they're a good person or not. Follow that gut. The first person I met with, she was late by 20 minutes and within 10 minutes diagnosed me with 5 different things. And I was like, I don't need that. I need someone, like, I know I have PTSD from being abused.
Did you think you just needed someone to listen?
I wanted someone to help me work through it, not just listen. I wanted someone who could challenge me and be like, hey, you're being stupid. Or, hey, like, you are overthinking this. And I have,
you should have came to me.
I know.
I do that all the time.
I'd be like, no. But my husband is always someone I can have that with as well. But having someone on the outside who you can literally show a message to. And I did this where I was like, look, here's the text message. Am I overthinking this? Am I making this worse? Am I sabotaging myself? And she looked at 2 different situations and she goes, in this one, you're reading it correctly. In this one, you're applying all of this stuff from this relationship to this one, and you're sabotaging it. And I was just like, okay. She goes, don't do that. Don't do that with it. Get rid of this relationship. This is bad. This is actually what you think it is. But this other one, you're just transferring everything from this other one to this one.
Yeah.
And that's who you need, is someone who can look at that and not just be like, no, you're right about everything.
What do you say? No. What do you say to the masculine alpha man that says, dude, therapy's for pussies?
I will always say, like, look, why are you going to therapy? What's the point?
Yeah, I'm not, because that's for pussies.
But you don't need it then. You're not going to go in there with the right mindset. But what you do need is you need other men who are going to be like, hey, stop being a total jerk to your wife.
Like a brotherhood.
Yeah. And so therapy is not for everybody, and that's okay. Therapy really is about working through something. It should not be the permanent tool that you have in your pocket. Yeah. It should be a temporary tool that you pick up and say, okay, I need this for a season. If that's 2 years, 3 years, but there are people who have made therapy a marathon where they're just like, I'm still in it. I'm not growing. I haven't changed. I haven't done anything different than what I was 5 years ago. And I still see my same therapist from 5 years ago. There's a problem there.
So kind of the point I wanted to shine light on is, even though you should have been screwed up, like me, we're not. No. So that shows that some of those statistics are, some make it anyway. You made it anyway, at least appearingly. You appeared to be fine. You're fine.
I'm fine.
But see, so is the abuse actually what's screwing people up? Or how are you fine? How am I fine then? Because in a lot of cases, like, I understand it sucks that you were abused, but technically, so what? That doesn't screw you up, or it could if you let it, is where I'm going. I want people to understand, like, just because you went through some hard times, look at her. She's fine. I've went through some hard times. I'm fine. And I'm sure there's millions of people just like us.
Yeah.
But there's some that didn't end up fine. Is it because they leaned on it as an excuse and just gave up?
Yes. And it's the short answer is yes. The long answer is, what are you going to do with what you went through? If it was not for my professor at 19 years old saying, what are you going to do with that? I probably, like, it was the first time that someone was like, hey, you're actually in control of this.
Yeah, but I can't even imagine
you. But let's move away from what are you going to do with it though?
I know, but I can't even believe you got there. Like, dude, in your story tells me you would have been running around, sleeping around, doing drugs, stealing, hooking, whatever. And you never would have been in college at 19. No. So even though you went through all that shit, somehow somebody or you stayed intelligently in the right direction. Otherwise, dude, 19 from 16 ain't that far away.
No.
And you somehow went from all that shit to going to college. Like, who made that decision?
Me.
See? So again, like, even with all that abuse, you still made the right decisions. Number one, how? What kept you going in the right direction? Even though by all counts, you shouldn't have. You should have been a hooker.
Yeah, no. And it's true, because that's what the statistics show. The first person I encountered that was not family was my guidance counselor from high school. And he looked at me and he's like, I don't care about you. I'm not going to try. Your grades already don't exist and suck. Like, I don't work with kids like you. I focus on the ones that are good. You're going to drop out, end up pregnant, and all this stuff. People say that is a fire that he put under me, but it actually just really pissed me off. But it was other teachers who were like, you have to take control for your life. No, like there are these concepts that I think that people started to say, like, just phrases where it was like, hey, in 10 years, are you going to be happy with that choice or pissed off you didn't do different ones? And what my school started to do was bring in people who had graduated 10 years prior and being like, hey, I'm still in the same position I was when I was in high school. And I'm like, I don't want that. But I also was tired of how my parents lived. I was tired of not having water and electricity. I was tired of being their parent and the kid's parent. But I was like, I got to get myself ready to take in my siblings. Like, that was what drove me. It was like, it's my turn to fix this for everybody.
How have the rest of your siblings fared?
They're actually pretty decent. 2 of them are in the military. One is a chef in LA. The other one is currently a caregiver for my brother-in-law who has ALS. And then he's looking at going to college again. And then my youngest, who's still with us, he's 22 and he's in college right now. And he's just trying to like figure out what he wants to do. Cause that's the age that you do that at, is your early 20s, is try to figure out what you want to be and make the mistakes and try things out to see what you're going to do.
Do you think that would have been the same case had you not cared for them?
No, because there are so many people out there who use the statistics and say, like, I have had so many people say, like, Danisha, do you know that if you stopped and quit at 19, we would have understood? And I'm like, but where were the people encouraging me to say, you know what are you going to do with that? They were very far and few in between. But that was when other people started to share their life stories, and it's always from people, like, I got inspired from people who had to do their own American dream, where they're just like, look, I came here with nothing. Those were the people that I was like, I want to talk to you. I need to ask questions, because these other people are like, you should just be here and forget about it and stop trying. Well, this person is like, look, I had nothing. And that was the person I was like, okay, you've built this, you've done this. For some reason, what they said hit me. And I was like, I got to do this. I think it is something inherently in us, of that moment of where we go, we're done doing the same crap that we've always done. It's time for change. Like, that's that rock bottom feeling that you get. And if you're not there, I don't think you're going to push yourself up. I just don't think you will. If you're not tired of the way that you're living, you're not going to want to change it. So I think that can happen at any age, though. It doesn't have to happen in your 30s.
So the research you did on foster youth reshaped support programs. What happened there, and what was the biggest barrier?
So a lot of the research I did was looking at how foster care support programs at the community colleges help foster youth in college. The biggest barrier that we found is that so many foster youth who were not in the system at 18 and told, like, you can keep going by a judge, they were not approved to stay in foster care. They did not get the resources that are available for my state. The other thing we found is that anyone under guardianship or kinship, which is 2 different branches of foster care, but it's unofficial foster care, they don't qualify for a lot of support program resources. So one of the things that these support programs changed was, they're like, if it was a day that you were in foster care, we will help you. And I think that is a game changer. But it was crazy when I went back to my school, where I was at community college, and they told me, and the lady was crying, and she's like, we haven't changed much since you've been here. And that was in 2009. And this was 2021. And she's like, we're trying, but we're fighting and getting every red tape of government, county, all of it. We are not getting the approvals that we need. And I think that was kind of shocking to me, was that these people who are fighting the fight to try to help young adults get on their feet, they're getting a hard time getting backpacks and computers, because people have literally said, why do they need more? They're adults. They should figure it out. And I'm like, because when you're in college, you don't have your books. I would go to class and try to do my homework before class by borrowing somebody else's book. And that's the reality that people face.
The 33 Roof documentary that highlights systemic failures. What moment in the film like broke your heart, and which one gave you hope?
I think the statistics is always going to break my heart, is that people look at young adults and say you should figure this out at 18, 19 years old, while other 18 or 19-year-olds are still with their parents or in college. And it breaks my heart that there's still this mentality of like, you just got to figure it out, but there's no help. But what has been so cool is to see in my own story and where other people are coming in, is that community can make or break somebody. And if it wasn't for my community in my 20s, I wouldn't have been here today.
Yes, that's good. And again, I don't want to come across like I'm one of those don't care guys, because I do, but maybe they should figure it out. Because if you research and do statistics on successful people, I find that no one helped them.
Sometimes.
You know what I mean? Like,
there's always somebody helping. Not
I know, but
maybe in the way of like giving them everything.
Well, there's always somebody. I say you can't get anywhere by yourself, period.
Right.
So I agree with that. But my point is, I was reading, I can't remember what it was, but it basically said kids with hard childhoods end up successful. Kids with easy childhoods end up working for the kids with hard ones. In other words, like letting them figure shit out.
Yeah.
There's some value in that. You don't want to just figure it out for your kid all the time.
No.
You want to give them some trials and tribulations if you really want them to be successful. So when you said, there was some kids that had to figure it out, and then some kids were still living at their mom and dad's. Well, the kids that were living at their mom and dad's, and a lot of times are working for the kids that had to figure it out. So when do you know when to be tough and when to not, and when to help? I
think when it's life or death, like, look, like you didn't show up for class because your car tire popped, which I had happen. And a professor was just like, I don't care about that. Like, have a good day. That there could be some grace. There could be some love there, where it's just like, hey, your tire literally blew. Your engine is done for. Yeah. Go ahead and turn this in after today. That's just being like, hey, look, sometimes people hit hard times. No one is handing these foster youth anything. Nobody handed me anything and said, here's $100,000, go get an apartment, go do this, live off of county resources. What I needed though was easier way to buy a $500 book that I did not have the money for. I worked 3 jobs.
Aren't there programs for that though?
There are some programs, but not everybody qualifies based off of how the file is done. So if they can't prove that they were in foster care in some counties, a lot of the resources are gone. Like me and my siblings didn't qualify for anything.
How do you prove it?
The county gives a file and says, here's their file label. So me and my siblings were put under what's called family maintenance, meaning someone in our family took over and stepped in, but it was not labeled foster care. Because it was not labeled foster care, we did not get any resource, medical insurance, nothing. So I had to pay for their medical insurance out of pocket as well as my own. I went with like 4 years without medical insurance. These are things that like could be made easier, but it is also something that's kind of like, look, just don't get sick. Just do your best, get out there, get a job. I mean, you could work at a Starbucks and they work 20 hours, you can get insurance. So it is more of like, give me information. Information is going to be way more powerful than giving me money. For like flat out, like you can give me 500 most of the time. If you give me $500, what am I going to do with that? I'm not going to start a business at 20 years old. I was going to use that.
What if I gave you 5 million?
If you gave me 5 million today, I would invest that differently at 35. You gave me 5 million at 18. I would have been an idiot. I would have been like, let me pay off people's houses and their debts and my debt. Like I literally would have been like, sister, here's the money for taking care of us. Let's go on a fancy trip. You give me 5 million today. I'm like, okay, how do I build a system? How do I build a platform to build more business and bring more business into this? How do I invest this money to where it grows? I'm different at 35 than I am at 19.
Yeah.
So what's going to help me at 19 is information. Okay. Yes. You can go get your books covered. That's great. Now you can study better in your classroom. Now, what are you going to do with the money that you get every financial aid check? Go invest that, start a business, learn to fail. Failure is where we learn.
That's what I mean.
Failure is going to be where we learn. I'd never learned by a success. I was like, cool, whatever. That was great. I got that money. Cool. I'm going to learn from when I'm on my face being like, what the heck just happened? How did I get here? Okay. I'm never doing that again.
Well, it's possible to learn from someone who already failed.
Yep. But most people say, I want to figure it out myself. Why? Why don't we learn? My pastor used to say, learn from other people's dumb texts. Stop doing it yourself.
Yeah.
And I was like, I love that. And I was like 20 years old when he said that. So information for me, I think is why I'm where I'm at today, is because people weren't afraid to tell me the hard truth. I was in my car and living in my car, and someone was like, you need to get it together. And I'm like, I can't find a place to rent. I just can't. I'm looking, people are not renting out to me, but then he helped me find somebody to rent from. Rented for a few months, then was able to get an apartment, then ended up taking my siblings in. But it was, if I had gone with some of those mistakes to say, hey, this is what's going on, this is what I'm looking for, how can I do this? I would have been off, I would have just been off better than what I was before, but I got afraid to ask questions. That's where we're going to get stagnant and stuck, is when we're not going to say, hey, what did you do? How did you do it? Why did you do it that way? Show me so I don't make that same mistake. That's still learning. And that's where a lot of people can't do that because they're so focused on that A in college. They just won't learn.
So as both a researcher and someone who's lived it, how do you balance the data that you learned with the story to drive real change?
The data is outdated. When you understand that, when you look at the research and you're able to say the statistics, or the article was published 3 years ago, they probably collected that data 4 or 5 years ago. That happens. They collected it from a small pool of people. Okay, that information is already outdated.
See, but why do they do that? See, I don't understand that part either.
It takes a long time
but they act like this data means everybody, when in reality, the sampling was tiny. Like, why do you act like you talked to 10 people and eight of them said this? So that's 80% of all people this is the case. When in reality, no, if you'd have talked to 100 people, the rest of them would have said something else.
It's people want their research to matter. And I love people enough to tell them that it's not big enough to change the world.
And they want it to match the narrative.
Yes.
So who's funding the research is always my question.
That could be a hit or miss, because most of the time it's just a person trying to publish so that they could go out and get speaking events or grants through the government or grants from businesses. But there are studies out there where it is being funded by massive corporations. And so they will emit data and say, no, we won't put that in there because it's not going to say what we want it to say.
Exactly.
That's where credibility comes in.
But that's why I always,
and if you're not credible, I won't even look at you.
But that's why I always, when people say, there's studies that say this, who funded the study? First of all, second of all, what was the sample size? Third of all, who gives a shit? That doesn't mean what you're trying to implement or imply that it means.
Yeah.
Like everybody is going to fail if they get abused. I didn't, you didn't.
No.
Your siblings didn't.
But I think people use that as the narrative because and this is going to be my conspiracy theory moment. People are going to go, wow. People use the statistics to say, this is why we need these programs so that I have a job. They don't want to change. If they really wanted to change how it was, we would have no CPS. We would have no foster parents. We wouldn't, because the solution to fixing foster care is coming in next to families and saying, okay, what is your need? Let's take that money and put it over there. Okay, that family is experiencing neglect due to poverty. Let's get them food. Let's get them a better job. Let's get this parent technical training. Let's do XYZ. They don't even do that until after the kids are taken away.
Well, what's crazy is, imagine if you had to apply to have a child.
Yeah.
Like, in other words, you weren't even allowed a child until you prove that you can take care of one.
I feel like that is a very dangerous rope. I know why.
Well, it is dangerous.
It's a very bad road to go. But I think it is one of those things that we could fix everything in this world if we literally went back to community. We could. If we actually showed up for people who were like, oh, you're hurting, instead of being like, get off. Like, okay, let's say the dad loses his job. This is a common thing that happens. Dad loses his job, can't find a job for 8 months. Why are people not helping him get a job? It's his problem. He's the man. He's got to do it. What if you had a job? Would you not offer, if he was qualified, would you not offer him that job?
Sure.
Most people would not.
Why not?
Because he's my friend. I can't have friends work for me.
That's who you should give the job to, is your friend.
But then,
if he's
qualified. But then that man is out there for 8 months, 10 months, 12 months, loses his house. Now they're sleeping on the streets. They get their kids taken away. then the county will come in and act. And too many people right now, what they do is, well, my tax dollars go toward it. They can do more than I could, instead of just saying, hey, Frank, come over for dinner. Let's apply together. Let me help you build your resume, your cover letter. Let me help you get back on your feet. Come live with us. People go, no. We don't do that anymore. We used to do that. We don't do that anymore as a society. We go, it's your problem.
When did we ever do that?
I used to see it all the time in the 80s and 90s.
See, 80s and 90s. I keep saying that was the time.
That was the time we cared. But now we've literally live in our houses. Most of us don't know our neighbors. We don't. I
don't know my neighbors.
Called you out. We know a couple of them, but it is that we stopped doing life together. And, I remember we would go, even with all the crap going on, we would go to people's houses and we'd have dinners with people. We would have, Bible studies during the week. If we went, we'd meet people and play at a park all day long on a Sunday. We used to do life together. It didn't matter if it was your kids or my kids. We'd be like, oh, I brought extra burgers. Who wants them? It wasn't well, did your parents bring you food?
Yeah, but then you find out one of the people you're doing life with is humping your kid and
then you act and step in.
Yeah, and the whole village should get together and hang the person.
Yeah. Beat them up, help the kids.
So again, that's like some of the punishment. Like I think like if you get caught abusing a child, you should have to first, once found guilty, because again, I mean, there's some of the things where the child's lying too. So
because
it's
of
like
the parent manipulating
it's just a dangerous road to where you don't. I mean, I'm assuming they're guilty. Let's just assume they're guilty. Because again, I'm sure there's accusations where dad or mom convinced the kid to say stuff that isn't true.
Yep.
Well, let's assume they're guilty. If they're guilty, I think the first thing that you need to do once you're guilty is you go get locked into a room, and anybody related to that child that cares is allowed to go have a visit with you. And if that doesn't do it, well, then you go to prison. And then everybody in prison, by the way, see, that's why, they talk about prison, dude, prisoners know how to deal with pedophiles.
Oh yeah, they do.
And you go to prison as a pedophile, dude, you'd rather probably
I know.
die.
My grandma's told me stories where she's like, your dad. And I was like, I don't care.
Oh, is he known as a pedo in there?
Oh, they know. They wear a specific colored jumpsuit.
His ass is grass.
No, he's been beaten up. They won't let him out with everybody else.
I'm surprised he's still alive.
I know. Yeah.
Because a lot of the times they'll kill you. And again.
Well, they separate them now. They're no longer in with the general population.
Well, that's why, because they'll get killed. But I think, again, there's corruption everywhere. Why don't those guards get a little corrupt and create a little warrior school?
They've been found to do that, where they're like, oops.
I would say, oops. I have no empathy for child abusers.
No, I don't either.
One time I got a DUI and I had to go do some community service. And part of the community service was to read this microfilm on child in a foster haven or whatever it was called. And you had to read a little bit of the story to kind of put it where you weren't supposed to read. You were supposed to read the name, but I was reading a little bit of the story.
Yeah.
And, I'm sitting there and I'm reading like, these are this person's parents that did this, not some weird neighbor. This is the mom, the dad doing this shit.
Well, the thing that's crazy. So Tim Tebow actually just recently did a podcast and he was talking about how, unfortunately, the number one predator for sexual abuse is the father.
Can't be.
It is. And they are the number one predator for selling digital photos of that child on the internet. And it's disgusting. And that he's sitting there, he's a new dad and he's like, my wife is pregnant right now. I cannot imagine a man being okay with doing this.
Who could?
No solid, real person can, but it is happening across our country. But then what happens is they remove this person from the life of the child, which they should. And then the mom is left to try to figure it all out by herself.
That's better than the alternative.
But this is where we need to stand in as a community. We need to be like, okay, we're going to make sure that mom and those kids have people, instead of just being like, she'll figure it out.
Yeah. Good foster dads.
Foster dads stand in community, men just being mentors, just getting back to being the village for people.
So you train foster parents, faculty, and staff. What's the one practice that you want every educator to adopt?
There is so much training out there for younger foster youth that are under the age of I would say 14. That's solid. We need more people to focus on the teenagers that are over 14 and the young adults to be the community for them. And then to really step up and show them how to be an adult.
Yeah.
Instead of just excusing the behavior. Yeah. When it comes to kids, a lot of people will be like, oh, their behavior, they're acting out. It's their trauma. A teenager starts to act out and they're like, oh, you're a little punk. Like, oh, you're just this. You're
That's what I said earlier. Like, I'm worried about them, not those kids. Like that. So you're saying everybody disregards the older ones.
To focus on the older ones. Not to excuse behavior or to be like, oh, you can just act like a little jerk to people, but to actually just show them how to be an adult, because they're going at 14, 15 years old. They're already thinking about like, I got to get 18, 19, 20 years old. I got to start driving. I got to do this. Where are the people showing us how to drive? Where are the people taking us to the DMV to get our permit? Show me how to get a job. Show me how to do something that's different so I cannot be what my parents were.
Yeah, it's a good point. Because again, in the beginning, I even said it. I ain't worried about those guys. Mm-hmm. Like they're adults. They can figure it out. And again, because I'm one of those, you'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Because I'm optimistic. I think if the kid's got a good head on his shoulders, abuse or no abuse, he's going to figure it out.
I sit with mainly young adults that are 19 to 25. Yeah,
but what you just said shifted my belief in that. So now I see why people, that's the ignored, underserved section, because everybody cares about the little ones.
Yep.
Nobody cares about the young ones, but because they're so close to adult, we're like, they figure it out.
Oh yeah.
And I was just the same until you just said that.
The hard part is that these are our new adults, and they're the ones going out into society, normally not being able to get any kind of work. So they're not giving back to the economy in any way. And then they're ending up in drug life. They literally say foster care is the pipeline for teenagers to end up in prison, on drugs, on the street, or in abusive situations where they're doing all this crazy crap. So if we can come in and say, you know what, we're going to show you how to be, especially foster youth that are male, they do not have mentors coming in and showing them how to be men. And so then they're coming into society and they're just like, I don't need to work. I'm going to steal things. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do drugs. I'm going to beat people up. And it's just like, no one is pulling them by their ear and being like, you are going to shape up and I'm going to show you how to do it. I'm going to be your mentor.
Well, because of the liability associated.
Yeah. But why didn't we care about that in the 80s and 90s?
Well, again, I mean, I was in the 80s and 90s and nobody came save me.
Not saving, but to be a mentor to you.
Nobody did that either.
No one ever had a conversation with you.
Well, my dad.
No other men.
You're going to end up a loser. Nobody came and did exactly, kind of what you're saying. And when you were saying that, I was thinking, maybe I could volunteer for these young lads and show them how to freaking treat women.
How to start a business.
Yeah, but
be successful in that.
But what I thought, as soon as I thought that is, freaking what if they're little punks and they're not listening? And now I'm just wasting my time, because it could be a waste of time. You get a little dickhead that's already an asshole.
Yep.
You're not gonna help.
Yeah.
You're gonna waste your time. People are worried about that.
Yeah.
And then the liability, like what happens? Like I remember some story a long time ago where the guy was like a Big Brother volunteer or something, and he bought him shoes. The kid didn't have any shoes, so the guy bought him shoes. Kicked out of the program. You're not allowed to buy him shit.
Yeah. Well, that's how most of the programs run. But what if? But
the liability is another reason they don't. So what would you say about guys like me who I'd think guys like me are like, because you just shifted my mindset and people listening, you probably did for them too, if they were thinking like I was, which is, I don't care about the little 16, 17-year-olds. They'll figure it out. I care about the little abused kids that have no defense. So I would have just ignored them too. Yeah. But now that you said that, I'm thinking, okay, you're right. That does make sense. Maybe I should help these guys too. But then I thought liability and they're not going to listen. What do you say to the people that think like that?
I think it's different for girls and for boys. And I think for boys, what they need is boundaries. Hey, I want to help show you how to start a business. Here's the ground rules. I'm not giving you any money, but I'm going to show you how to make money legally.
What if they miss dinner?
Then they're out.
They can't, you wouldn't feed them
this
anyway?
Is like Fight Club. Like we don't talk about Fight Club, right? But we know what Fight Club is. And where's the ground rule?
What if they show up right after dinner and they're hungry?
Why did you miss? Sometimes people have to go hungry a little bit. I'm not going to lie.
I know, but remember that story you told me?
Yeah.
And I was saying they should have fed you.
They should have. But when
now you're saying,
19,
hey, you missed dinner.
But you're 19, 20, 21 years old. Why did you miss? I was just hanging out with friends, lost track of time. Cool. I'll see you tomorrow. Last chance.
So
Men
hard love is what you're
need
saying.
Some hard love. Girls, they need more affection, but they also need someone to be like, hey, you need to stop being emotional. Like I needed that tough love from people because I was that person who would just be like, okay, I'm going to fight everybody. I'm going to get into a physical altercation. And I needed someone to be like, you need to control your emotions. You can't just do that. People gave me more information than they ever did my brothers, regardless. But when men came around them and said, okay, I'm taking you to this men's retreat. We're going to learn about all this stuff. You're going to show up at this time. If you want this, you cannot miss. And the right kid that you are supposed to mentor is going to show up. Because it's not going to be everybody. You're right. Not everyone's going to be as serious, but there is going to be one who is like me at 19, where it was like, look, I just need information and I need someone to believe in me and it not be a scam. I don't know how many freaking scams I went into where people are like, I'm going to show you how to start a business. And it was like the companies where it's like, you're going to go sell people life insurance. And it's like, and you have to have $1,000 to start and then get 5 people under you. Don't show me how to start a real business, not selling somebody else's product, my own stuff. Show me how to go out and build money for tomorrow.
How do we find out? Because number one, the thing you were describing earlier, that is how you start a business. There's nothing wrong with that.
No, there's not.
Number two, I would, if I was the kid, I'd prefer what you said second, which is no, show me how to build a real one.
Yeah.
Well, that is a real one. It's just, one way to do it. There's a million ways to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I could help a kid or a male or female do exactly what you said, like start your business. The problem is what resources do they have? Am I now providing all those resources?
You're showing them what the resources are, because here's the deal is that when we start to just give people who are 18, 19 years old, here's $1,000, go start a business tomorrow. They're not going to use it for that business. So this is why I'm saying don't show them a business where it's like, just go sell this product. If they're good at that, cool. But show someone actually how, like, okay, you're going to have to learn how to get $500 legally. And then you're going to invest that money. And now tomorrow you're going to learn how to do this, this, and this.
Or the guy would say, hey, just go get $500 regardless of how.
And you're going to end up a kid who's going to be doing drugs.
No, because they're going to go do it anyway.
They might not, though.
See, so I was fired at a camp one time because I got a job as a camp counselor.
Oh, no.
They shouldn't have gave me the job. I was a kid myself. So I got fired because I took the boys on a panty raid because I saw it in the movies. That's what you did. You went and did a panty raid. I didn't even know what a panty raid was, but all the movies I saw where they were all at camp for the summer, there was pranks being pulled and, all this. So all I was doing was pulling pranks. It wasn't necessarily a panty raid, but I was a kid leading kids, being kids. Mm-hmm. So I got fired because I was pulling pranks on people, which they should have fired me. They never should have gave me the damn job. I was a kid myself, but where was I going with that? I think what matters is who is providing these things. So like, if you've never started a business, don't go try to show an 18-year-old how to start a business.
Right.
Like these should be businessmen and entrepreneurs that have some sort of experience and success that are willing to donate some knowledge.
Yes.
And, teach them how to do it.
Yeah.
But again, I mean, like a lot of people follow me on social media. Dude, listen, if you're listening to my social media, I tell you how to start a business. You just don't like the answer. Because guess what? It's work, man. There's no freebies in life. No one's coming to save you. Right. I'll give you the information, but guess who has to do it? Right. You do. And that's
what you're showing them. You're showing them the tools, not because if you're going to give them the tools, what is the first thing? It's like, you want a job tomorrow? Get your resume and your cover letter updated now. How do you do that? I'm going to show you how. It's not, and really.
Well, now with AI, ask AI.
It could be done in 2 minutes. There's no excuse to why someone can't. But the amount of times that I have sat down with someone who's just simply overwhelmed with information, they're just like, how do I even do this? I'm like, hey, throw it in AI, get a new resume and a cover letter, go apply to a job, go in there. Well, like we do this with my brother right now. And he's like, hey, should I put my picture on this? It's like, well, no, you don't need to do that. That could actually create some businesses not to want to hire you because they look at you and they're like, oh, this isn't a serious kid.
Why do you think that?
because it's people have actually, it's been known for people within jobs to discriminate based off race and gender. So they'll see a picture of someone and immediately profile them, and then they will not hire that person.
But it depends on what they look like.
Right. So that's where pictures, most people are like, and it's not
I know,
quality.
but when you show up and then you
show up different. You're not going to just take a picture with your hair's all messed up. Like you're going to, most of the time should go into an interview and you're dressed nice, your hair is done, you look nice, but you're not going to show up with that in the same photo.
I know,
most
but
of the time.
believe it or not, as an employer,
I know.
I prefer pictures.
And that's fine to do, but most places have actually said like you don't need to include it. If it asks for it, go for it.
I know, but
entry level jobs like grocery stores and stuff.
I mean, I don't care if I'm employing somebody. I'd prefer to see a picture.
That makes sense.
So if I'm looking for someone, I say, send me a 30-second video. It's not because I want to see a video. It's because I want to see you talk.
Yeah.
I want to see how you're dressed.
How you're acting.
I want to see
body
you,
language.
If you're some, dipshit.
Yeah.
I just prefer not to call you in for an interview.
You could also see that on their social media though.
And we do look. So like to me, it's like, I prefer to see a video and a picture. Video's even better, but
most of them don't take those though. That's the grocery stores, gas stations. They
should.
It would. I don't care if I see them. Like I used to see them on resumes, but most of the time I don't see them.
I want to go through a resume, press play.
Yeah.
Boom. How you doing? I'm willing to work for you, but I better get lunches off. 2-hour lunch.
Like, no.
Next. And then I see someone say, hey, my name is Brad Lee. I'm very interested in going to work. I've got a little of this, a little of that. I'd love to be an asset to your team. I'm willing to work whenever you need me. I look forward to an interview. Dude, boom, call that dude in.
Yeah.
So it just helps because if I have to go through just words, everybody's making the bullshit resumes on the computer.
No,
like everybody looks the same.
But this is why we told them to take it in, like take your resume and your cover letter in, don't apply online and then go into the stores and then introduce yourself to the manager if they're there or to someone that works there and just say, hey, I put an application in and I wanted to introduce myself, because it's the first impression is about 7 seconds before someone's like, yeah or no. So we were telling him to do that. But most places have actually stated like that. I've always been taught, like, you don't put your picture on there because they can discriminate. You don't put your age on there because places will discriminate. You can't prove it.
I wouldn't put your picture on there if you're ugly.
Well, you're good
because that's what they're discriminating against.
Maybe, but it's also like age and things. Okay,
so
stuff like that,
should we alter the
I think
direction?
We need to change. Yeah, we need
Don't
to change.
Don't put the picture on there if you're ugly.
No,
but if you're good looking, put your picture on there.
Just show up well.
Why do realtors put their picture on their cards?
It's because it's the first impression that somebody gets from you. Look at how I look. I look the part that you want me to have.
Yeah. So that would be the advice I give. If you look good, put a picture. If you don't look good, don't put a picture. You might get the job. You might get the interview. But when you walk in, dude, I'm going to see you anyway.
Yeah.
But another thing, as an employer, the rules are not set up for employers.
No.
And there's shit unfair about that too. It's like, oh, you have to save this application for up to 18 months. Why? I'm not interested.
Because you have to prove that the person actually applied for what's the thing that most of them are on is unemployment some sort of resource.
But still, man, make the rules better for the employers.
Yes,
make the laws fair.
Yes.
And I'll bet you there's going to be more employers willing to give more jobs.
Oh, absolutely. And spending less time on trying to find people and more time on hiring versus
I wanted to start a website called Nightmare Employees, which I own that website because I was going to start it. And it's like, you ever heard of like Glassdoor?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's where employees can call or can post shit about their past employer. So if you fire somebody and they're mad,
they have that for professors.
They go to Glassdoor and they say, hey, this guy's an asshole and it's unfair there and blah, 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 blah.
They have that ratemyprofessor.com and you can go and look at your professors before you take them at most institutions.
But still, you got to understand, and that's a kind of a different, but if I fire you from this job because
people should know. Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
I agree.
Hey, this person was let go. Now there's their review, but keep in mind they were fired.
Yeah.
What were they fired for? I had one guy leave a thing that said, and I comment on every one of my reviews because I'm funny like that. And I want people to understand how ridiculous some of them are. This one guy got fired and he said, yeah, he fires everybody that's good. And I'm like, yeah, because we have way too much talent around here. You know, I always look for people that are really good and I get rid of them because, you know, there's too much talent. It's like, come on, don't be stupid. We don't fire the good people. We fire the dipshits, and you're a dipshit. Yeah. But there's no website for employers to rate employees. Let me see if they have 17 sexual harassment lawsuits filed. Let me see if they've sued the last 4 employees that they've worked for. Let me see their
no shows, all of it.
Let me see their credit. Their
job. Yeah.
Let me see their driving. Yeah. Let me see all that. But we're not allowed to ask that.
I know.
So it's like unfair.
It makes hiring really hard. But that's
why I prefer a video, because the video will tell you a lot about a person just by listening to them talk to you, especially in this environment, because you're trying to get a job. Are you laying there with a bong in the background talking about freaking entitlement things?
Right.
I shouldn't have to hire you.
No.
And I shouldn't have to save your record.
No.
It's my business.
Yeah. But these are things that I think, as someone who is working with older foster youth, having that conversation of like, hey, look, this is what I just do. I employ people. Okay. Here's what I look for. If you're going to do this and I find out, you're out. That can help. And again, it might not help every single one of those kids you talk to, but the ones who are like, I want to change my life, they're going to have someone be like, okay, cool. Okay. I'm going to start following what Brad just told me, because now someone they know. And they can't walk around saying that they don't know, because you get to say, I told you. So do you spend your day and time just out helping the foster youth right now? I do a lot of speaking events throughout the year specific for foster youth. And then I go in for staff and faculty and parents to try to help train them. I always come in with, there is that tough love moment. You want to see them as a human being, but you also have to sometimes pressure them into doing what they got to do. The biggest thing that I hear from foster parents actually is like, well, they don't want to go to college. I'm like, what do they want to do? And it's like, well, they want to be in construction or this other thing. And I'm like, why are you not supporting them in that? And everyone's answer is like, let's go to college. And I'm like, no, what is their passion? There is a whole generation right now of people who are not passionate about life because they don't think they have a purpose. We need to ignite that back up of what is your purpose in life and go. I don't care if you want to go to school, get a PhD, or go into construction. If you're passionate about it, let's get you there. But that's not what's happening. Not only that, but times are changing. They are. There's something called AI now. Yep. Which means I have college in my pocket. Yep. I have a PhD. Yep. Right here. Yep. I'll bet you this knows just as much as you do. Yep. It's crazy, but the people that don't want to go to college, they want to get into construction and get busy with their hands. That's the future. Trade jobs white collar. Trade jobs are going back up again. The blue collar is going to flip to white collar, and the white collar is going to flip to blue collar, meaning rich and poor. Yep. I think the doctors and the lawyers and the PhDs and the knowledge are going to eventually go down. Need to figure out something else. Why? Because of AI. Yeah. So right now they're hiring you, but eventually I'm going to go, hey, here's my problem. And the AI is going to take your material from your books, from all the shit that you studied and you researched, just going to go blink. Which is why I have to stay above the software. That's right. And that's something that a lot of people won't do. I do a lot of coaching for doctoral students, AI or not. Most of them do not know how to learn because they've only ever studied the A's. How do I get the A in class? But if I have all the information right here, why would I ever need to call you anymore? Because universities do not allow you to use AI for writing for you. You can get ideas and information and learn how to write it by yourself. Why would I need to go to college? People don't. We never actually needed. The whole college thing should have been different. I am not a firm believer that college is necessary for most jobs. They are for certain jobs, medical fields, lawyers, doctors. But that makes sense today for like, maybe not lawyers. I mean, I know there's this guy who literally learned him by himself. He's like, I don't need a lawyer. I'm going to be my own lawyer. So he just studied, used all the books in the library. It's getting the knowledge. That's what he needed. And he ended up defending himself and winning. When it comes to education, I do see a decrease happening across the board. Like, people are going to finish high school. They're not going to go to college. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But regardless, there are going to be people who are going to fall in not being able to use their education. And we see that already where people are already in that boat where they're like, I have a bachelor's, a master's, or a PhD, and I'm not using it. I'm like, why? And it comes down to their own tools that they don't know how to use. So there is 2 parts of education: is the degree, but the tools that you learn. You don't need to be in a school to learn that. You just have to be willing to be a lifelong learner in whatever ways that looks like. Wow. And most people don't step into that realm.
Yeah. And take action.
No, they don't.
Because if I went and got my PhD, which like I said, I don't need to, I got you, I got this, I got that book. Like, what do I need it for?
Yep.
Unless I want to be a psychiatrist, for example.
Right.
Well, I think AI is going to hurt those industries.
It already is.
I call them thinking industries. In other words, if you went to college to get knowledge that you'd have to go to college to get, you're valuable because you possess the knowledge everybody needs.
Yep.
Well, now everybody's got the same knowledge.
Right.
So therefore your value drops. So now what's valuable?
What are you doing to make yourself valuable?
You got to figure it out or adapt, because in my mind, the trades.
Yep.
Okay. That right now, AI is not going to put the roof on my house.
No.
I need somebody to come over and fix my toilet. AI is not doing that shit. AI will tell me how to do it.
Yep.
But AI ain't doing it.
Yep.
Okay. I still want someone to come do it. So those are the trades.
Yeah.
So in my mind, it's like, are all these lawyers that are going to be displaced? Because I don't need a lawyer. I can get one lawyer with AI to do the work of 50 lawyers. Mm-hmm. And when I send my...
one lawyer can do that without having to hire paralegals anymore.
Yes.
Because they're going to be able to use it.
And right now, if I get a contract and I send it to my attorney, all they're doing is putting it into damn AI.
Yeah.
And it's like, I could have done that. Why did I pay you $600 to do that when I could have done that for free? So in my mind, dude, I'm thinking lawyers, people that have thought, value, meaning I need to come to you because I don't know what you learned. So I either got to go to college or pay you.
Yep.
Well, and soon that won't be the case.
No.
And it's going to be like, well, what's all the PhDs going to do then? Well, guess what? They're going to be putting on roofs. They're
going to be working in stores. And that's the reality, is people are already doing that. I've met several people who have been in sales. And they're like, yeah, I have a PhD and da-da-da-da. And I'm like, okay. And the big thing that they said is I could not get hired in education to teach. And it's like, well, what started your own business, become a consultant, work with other businesses on how to fix processes systems and become someone who's talking about motivation. That's a big thing, is there's so many motivational speakers out there. And then you listen to them and you're like, that's not that hard. It's not hard to come in and motivate someone to do the work and to get over it. AI cannot replace someone's experience in life. But if you don't know how to share that experience, people are going to AI for therapy. I know someone who does it. They literally go to AI and AI tells them what they need to do to walk through their emotional stuff. They don't need a therapist. What they do need, though, is someone who's going to sit there and be like, look, I actually went through this and you are not doing what I'm telling you to do. AI can't really do that. And you need that accountability. You need the person sitting across from you, looking in your eyes and being like, dude, you're on the wrong track. AI is never going to be able to do that. People think that it might, but they're not going to be able to actually have that accountability in person.
Taking my voice back.
Yes.
Healing what broke me. Yep. That's your book.
Yep.
One of them.
Yep.
Where do people get this?
Amazon. So I am an independent publisher. I just went and did it by myself, and you can do that on Amazon, but you can get both of these books on Amazon and have it shipped to your house.
What am I going to learn if I go read that?
So within that, it's more of a trauma-informed lens where we're coming in. I don't go in and just say, here's all my crap that I went through, but sharing different things of how I worked through things emotionally from years ago of therapy to recently. Sharing with like, okay, here's this situation. How do we overcome this? I add a lot of humor and movie references in there as well, but it is something where it's like, hey, I just want to be with you in person, sitting and talking to you as if we were across the table and just being like, look, healing sucks, but it is worth it. And you actually have to dig through it to be able to get on the other side.
Do you think writing that book helped?
I did, because I actually got to see, with education, I could see how far I came financially. I could see that, but I didn't see how much I actually grew emotionally. And when I started writing it out and then started reading through it, I was like, dang, like I have come a long way from where I was at 19.
Writing, speaking, and reading is
so
healing. It's cathartic. So what about from foster to PhD?
From foster to PhD is actual journal entries that I pulled from when I was journaling. That was one of the things my first therapist at 19 said to do. So I started writing out just things to process emotionally. But it's from the beginning of 19 all the way to taking my siblings in. And it's actual diary journals that I plugged into this book, and then going all the way to the PhD side and still struggling with imposter syndrome.
And this says you're scaling your college certified training to digital?
Yep.
How are you doing that?
Putting it all online. So instead of doing in-person conferences, I've shifted that to where it's a classroom where people can come in and have community, talk with people,
like
and
Zoom
then learn.
Calls?
Sometimes it's live, but most of the time it's just plugged in on, and it's like a 4-week course where they come in with a bunch of information. And then there's the recordings of me sitting there talking with them about what to do and how to do it. So this could be anywhere between starting their own coaching and consulting company to becoming a speaker or even writing their own book.
Coincidentally, that's what this place does.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're using, but you should be making sure you look at this place.
Yes.
This is an actual training software.
Yes. Oh, I love it.
Training is good content, repetition, practice, and accountability. Most of those systems that people build, they're just videos to watch. Watching videos doesn't do it, because otherwise I'd be a mixed martial artist, because I watch UFC every weekend.
Right.
So this technology is interactive, so you can ask questions, make triggers.
Yep.
I'll have someone show you on a Zoom call one day.
I want to get up.
But before you actually do that, I'd strongly suggest you look, because again, the goal is impact.
Yep.
It's not, hey, let me give them access to my videos. Dude, you can do that on YouTube.
Right.
But if you want a training system, this is the only one in the world that does it.
Yep.
Like it does.
I got to level up.
Yes.
Because I got to stay above the curve instead of behind.
And if it's, I don't know what you're doing with it, but we'll talk. Maybe I'll donate it to you.
Oh, that would be cool.
Maybe we make courses for those underserved youth. Because there's people that will volunteer to help, but like they can't sit there and mentor 50,000 kids.
No.
But they can come into my studios, make a course that we can get to 50,000 kids on demand, track, measure, and monitor, ask questions, collect data. Like maybe one of these kids about ready to commit suicide, you can create an interactive course that, even though it's just interactive video, they're answering questions along the way. And when you indicate like, oh, this one's like in a serious problem, it notifies somebody. So I mean,
that would be amazing.
Yeah, it's cool.
There's nothing out there that's like that. Most of the resources that are out there, it's all community driven, which is fine, but it usually costs someone something to be able to build. And it costs a whole team to be, most of the time it's nonprofits that are doing it right now. And so it's not on a larger scale. A lot of things are tied to them going to school. And so they can't get these resources for free just to come in. There's nothing that really, it's not life with everything. It's usually just a specific age. So that's the difficulty, is that they can't, it's not going to navigate with them unless there's a live person with them. And that's a holdback that doesn't actually fix problems for people.
Maybe I'll help you with that.
That'd be cool.
How can the Bomb Squad help? That's the listeners.
Get involved, because be the community to people. There are so many foster youth out there that need somebody to help parents and help sometimes it's just coming in and talking to your parent being like, you need to get this together and we're going to help. But I find that where the missing pieces is the older foster youth that are aging out, and then the ones who are new adults that just need someone to look at them and say like, hey, let's go this way.
Folks, don't let her do it by herself. Pitch in if you can, help if you can. Go to Danisha Keating, DANISHA, DanishaKeating.com. Her Instagram is at Dr. Danisha Keating. Go follow her on social media, DM her. Facebook, Dr. Danisha Keating. You can't miss her. Go to Amazon to get her books. I'm going to see what I can do to help. And I urge everybody listening, at least share the episode, because you might be sharing it with someone that freaking needs it. Till next time, keep it real.